Okay, speaking of being handsome, dude, Andrew Tate, handsome guy. Whatever you think about him, he's a handsome fella. Justin Waller, handsome fella. Tristan Tate, handsome fella. You know, like these red pill guys that you see on like YouTube shorts constantly. Who can give like a solid definition of a red pill? Like red pill movement, like the red pill guys, the Justin Waller, Andrew Tate types.
I think it's basically saying masculinity is about how many women that you can pick up and not being and making as much money as you possibly can, and that you should not chase women. You shouldn't be chasing women like all these other guys do who are addicted to watching certain videos on the internet and who are chasing after girls and putting them on a pedestal. And it's uplifting that men should be the providers and that men are able to have, a lot of them say men are able to have multiple wives and these kinds of things. So I wouldn't know if there's a good summary, but that's some of their basic beliefs is that men shouldn't be reliant on women and that feminism is a cancer to the culture, which is it's a
That's
it's a
true.
partial truth is what it is. It's a partial truth, but it's reactionary and it's not based off of the actual truth.
Yes, I think that's the biggest thing. Is it that it is reactionary?
That's exactly what I was just writing down
Yeah.
is the pendulum swing idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it started in the '60s. It was the radical sexual revolution, the radical feminist movement, and then now we're just seeing like the opposite, going back to like I don't know, the Middle Ages when women were property, and it's like the pendulum. It's trying what is trying to be normalized in society.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Do you think that women were? Do you believe in the patriarchy throughout
throughout history,
throughout history? Yeah.
in certain cultures, of course, like certain cultures degraded women more than others.
Yes.
I mean the
would you define that
the
as
beginning
a
of
patriarchy,
the beginning of liberation for women was Jesus Christ, and that he was the first religious figure to actually start lifting up women and empowering them, and giving them a voice. I mean, I'm using all the leftist buzzwords, but it's really true.
I mean, his favorite disciple
yeah.
was a woman, basically. Not his most favorite.
Well, do you want to?
Well, no.
Yeah, his
wait. Well, hold on.
well, yeah, pause.
It was John. Remember?
Yeah, it was
like
John.
the most beloved.
But also, wasn't he like Mary Magdalene was like a significant person in the Gospels? No.
Well, yeah, she was. But
Yeah.
like, okay, the Mary and Martha, right?
Yes.
Didn't
Yeah.
they first people to see Jesus resurrected,
Yes, that was my point.
and then
Yeah.
the people Jesus first appeared to were women after he resurrected. So what I'm saying is that the empowering of women began with Christ, and then it was carried through the Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's no Western civilization, it was just complete dominance and who basically who carried the biggest stick.
I don't necessarily agree, right? But before we get into that, can you pull up like what your definition of what's it called, patriarchy would be before I say like
My definition of patriarchy, I don't
have it on the back of my mind, but I would agree with the textbook definition of a patriarchy, which is not just a male-dominated society. Like define a male-dominated society. In what aspect is our society male-dominated? Like that kind of thing.
So it
Society
could be
that's,
male
like-
dominated when it comes to certain industries. Certain industries are male dominated. I think patriarchy is the false assumption that men essentially run the world, and without any, they basically subject women to
Whatever they want, yeah.
Whatever they want is the assumption. I don't. That's why.
Okay.
What's your definition of patriarchy?
I wouldn't have a definition. I was just asking if you could pull up the textbook definition.
Oh, you just asked me to do that. Why? What are you trying to argue here?
Oh, I wouldn't try to argue anything. I just disagree with throughout history it being the whoever carries the biggest stick, right?
Well,
My
it started.
personal-
Keep going, please.
My personal observation would be that throughout history, man and woman have cooperated, and I mean, look, there's plenty of examples of civilizations that abused and slaughtered their women and did horrible other things. But throughout history, man and woman worked together, cooperated together to fight off starvation, disease. Sorry, I just noticed the top of my feet. I will try not to do that. Disease, starvation, the horrible effects of basically childbirth. Right, the amount of deaths during childbirth was very, very high. And I think they work together to combat against the horrors of life, really. And
Yeah.
I think it's been a terrible, dreadful misreading of history that man has just dominated women and forced them into submission when it's not been that way at all. I do not.
Yeah, I
don't
think
think.
Jordan Peterson talks about this,
He
doesn't he? He
does.
talks
He
about how
does
he's
talk about
basically like, life sucked for both men and women for
Yeah,
majority
yeah,
of
that's
history.
how
There
he
was
puts it,
death,
yeah.
there was sickness, there was tyranny from people up top, but it didn't have anything to do with a man specifically. I mean, there was kings and queens that were
Yeah.
both tyrannical.
Yeah, and I mean,
And
if you really want to look at it, I mean, women weren't going and getting cut up with swords. you know,
yeah,
which was happening to a lot of men in
Yep.
before the 1800s.
Yeah, so textbook definition of patriarchy is a social system in which the father is the head of the family. Another definition could be a family, community, or society based on this system or governed by men, or dominance of a society by men or the values that uphold such dominance.
well,
Different.
Do you disagree with that?
I
with
don't
the
know
idea of a patriarchy.
Patriarchy is such a buzzword. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Would you
All I
agree with
know-
that definition?
I would work backwards and say that a family should a man is the head of the household,
Mhm.
and that that's the framework that I have. So I'm working backwards, and if you call that a patriarchy, okay,
well, that's what
like,
it says in that definition.
okay,
is,
sure.
Yeah.
Then the way things should be is that a family is formed in a patriarchal
Sense.
sense.
Yeah.
It was not the family was not designed to be a matriarchy.
Nope.
It was designed to be a patriarchy.
I completely agree. I think we would all agree on exactly what a family, the framework, to use your word, of a family would look like, and because that's all laid out, the blueprint for a family is all laid out in the Bible. Christ's relationship with the church, and just how it defines marriage and having children and discipleship of your children and wife, and I
Yeah.
would completely agree.
So, what do we think the biggest thing that the Red Pill people get wrong about the way men and women relationships should work and the way families should work and that kind of thing? Like as we hear.
Do you want to go first?
I'm thinking. I don't know. Do you have something?
I mean, I was gonna when you were talking about it, you were talking about how it's kind of backlash from the feminism back in the '60s, which is another interesting conversation. But no, I was just kind of thinking about how. Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, basically, what is the Red Pill movement get wrong?
Thank you. So it's kind of just like this model of the prioritizing of business and career over your family, right? So to me, the people who like Dan Bilzerian who irritate me beyond my own comprehension, and what's that guy's name? Justin
Waller.
I think look at he believes you should have multiple families, and it's like it doesn't matter because he can support all of them. He can pay for all of them. So who really should be able to have an opinion? It's like, yeah, you can do that if you want, but
It's not the best for society as a
no,
whole.
it's not.
It's not the best for the kids at all. I mean, just throwing money at them isn't
right.
gonna solve their
Um,
problems. I mean,
I think the biggest thing that the Red Pill movement gets wrong is that is a misdefinition of strength. Because to a biblical, I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to work back from what I know, and then based on what the true definition, it will point out the counterfeit. So the biblical definition of strength is power under control, is meekness. Our ultimate, us as men, our ultimate role model of masculinity is the person of Jesus Christ, and he laid his life down for humanity. He died for humanity in the ultimate form of meekness. He could have called angels down and destroyed all of his enemies, but he instead kept his power under control and submitted unto death for the sake of his church, for the sake of
his bride,
the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
So that is the definition of strength, power under control. The Red Pill movement sees meekness as weakness. They see anything other than physically projecting yourself and dominating others, whether that be with how you talk, how you look, how you act, the people you help, the people you choose to financially support. it's all about you and portraying you as over them, as complete controlling over them, as controlling. So
Yeah.
I think that in a way that that's expressed, another way that that's expressed, I brought up the multiple families, and you said the word submission to death, right, is a sacrificial atonement for his people to save his people. One of the ways that men are naturally have the call to be promiscuous, right, and being sacrificial is a huge thing for a man, right? That's the definition of masculinity, as being a strong and protective and competitive, typically. But it's for that desire is for one person, and you're sacrificing and kind of killing this desire to be promiscuous with multiple other people, to build, your own family unit. And when you have somebody like Justin Waller who's acting promiscuous and like a boy with multiple other women, you just don't have that ability to sacrifice and provide for one person. Don't have the energy for that.
that's true. He do you think he would die for all of his women, all of his baby mamas, like all the girls who are
Well,
are
I don't
mothering
think you
his
can. You
children?
can't be in 8 different places at one time.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
You literally can't.
Yeah, you can't. Interesting.
Because being a father is an everyday thing. You don't just get to say, "Oh, sorry guys, I'm going to my other family today. I'll be back." And
Oh, how destructive that has
Yeah.
to be for those kids.
you see the statistics on fatherlessness, which are alarming. If you have a 2-family household, you're in America. I think Charlie Kirk talks about this. Like, you're basically not going to be in poverty if you have 2 parents that work, and that you don't have your kids out of wedlock. You don't have your kids multiple parents and co-parenting and all these different things. Like, if you do it the way God intended it to do, you will be blessed. Big surprise.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have today is like not only fathers that leave their kids, but fathers that are kind of just there. Like, they're involved, but they're not actually
Emotionally
actively.
absent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And another thing is that, like you said, Justin Wall, he's like, oh, I can have multiple families because I can support them all. I can financially support them all. But there are tons of other ways of supporting. Like you were just saying, Hunter. You support them spiritually. You lead them spiritually. And even if you're not a Christian, you're leading your children spiritually in some way, even if you don't realize it. If you're not a Christian, you're likely leading them spiritually in the wrong direction. Side note, though, you're leading them emotionally. You're leading your wife. You're educating your family. So it's your job, and I think the Red Pill movement gets this wrong about men often, is that first of all they misrepresent what strength means, and also they assume that the only job you have as a father is to provide financially and to put a roof over their heads and clothes on their bodies, which is like basic bottom level, like that's starting out of the gate, like no duh level. But there's no, like, how are you you're gonna teach your son to be an a-hole, basically, if you're gonna act, if he's gonna look at his father, Justin Waller, who's an arrogant herd muncher, and he doesn't have any virtue
or any fear of
other
God.
than no fear of God. He's promiscuous. He's rude. It's all about shocking people and getting people's reactions. How do you think a young boy is going to act if that's his father?
He also wears skinny jeans everywhere.
Or is this just the
He actually said on a podcast, I don't buy skinny jeans. My legs are just so fit and huge that I buy the baggiest jeans I can find, and they still look like skinny jeans. And like the guy's so arrogant. Ugh. It's just like, it's not masculine to be arrogant.
No.
It's not.
I think there's what is it? That Jocko guy, Jocko
Willink?
He talks about something where he talks about commanding respect versus demanding respect. I don't know if you've seen this on the interview. He talks because he was what was he in the Marines, or he was
Navy SEAL.
Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
He talks about when you have guys that are going in there and they're just yelling and they're just forcing their authority on you, and it's like real men who are real leaders don't need to do that. The way they carry themselves is the example and is the thing that makes you want to respect them.
Yeah.
Because you see that they're willing to die with you. They're willing to be with you, and that's what a man should be.
And they
to
take,
their-
like Jocko Willink says, they take complete ownership.
yeah,
Like, even if it's something that your man did wrong and it's totally their fault, you take responsibility
because you're the leader.
because you're the leader.
And
Yeah.
attitude
Ultimately, it's
reflects
your
leadership.
fault. And that's, attitude reflects leadership. The line from Remember the
Remember
Titans.
the Titans. Yeah.
Oh, such a good scene, dude.
Great.
Also, I watched the Gladiator recently. Dude, I can't believe I hadn't seen this movie yet.
Yeah.
It's so good. So good. I mean, just the first scene of them fighting like the barbarians or whatever, you can tell right off the bat he commands respect